Welcome to Glocal Voices, the official podcast of the Center for Socially Engaged Theatre at the University of Regina.
Hello and welcome again. My name is Taiwo Afolabi and the Director of Center for Socially Engaged Theatre, and we're live and direct at IDIERI 2025 at the University of British Columbia here in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. In this episode, we're going to be talking to Meg Upton from Deakin University in Australia, and Megan is going to introduce herself more. But I'd like to shout out to all those behind the screen, from Gabriel to Walter to Caleb, that's going to be also adding to a lot of the editing later on. And of course to Shola, part of the crew. And then of course to Tara, who has been our admin, and really everybody working to make all of this happen. So today I'm going to be talking to Megan, and I just want Megan to start to introduce yourself. Good to have you.
Thank you so much. My name is Meg Upton. I am Australian, and I'm settler colonial Australian, and I have been I'm a drama educator and a dance educator, and I've been working at Deakin for nearly 15 years. I had an association at Deakin for 15 years, but I have only been recently ongoing. But before that, I've worked in theatre and education, theatre companies as a teaching artist, and always been a researcher. I'm obsessed with quality theatre for young people. Obsessed with it. But one of my biggest things I want to talk to you today about, if we could, is around the way young people experience theatre through the lens of the curriculum, which is because I'm a curriculum specialist. So this is my passion, is that theatre, what it can offer, but what happens potentially in my research, what happens when they have to experience it through the lens of curriculum. Does it shift in some way? And why is that important?
Okay, we're going to come to those questions, and I want to also apologize. I was calling you Megan instead of Meg, so for whatever reason.
I am.
I thought it's apologies. So theater, curriculum development, curriculum evaluation, and everything about curriculum. What are the highlights you want to share about that based on your research?
Okay, so just briefly, Australia has a national curriculum, but it has state-based senior curriculum. We're also super lucky in Australia because we have the arts mandated in our curriculum. And then each state, its senior curriculum, by that I mean for those watching it's seniors, so years 11, 12, those post-compulsory. And drama is a really huge subject, but in Victoria, which is where I'm from, it has two subjects. It's the only state that does. It has drama and it has theatre studies.
Wow.
So our curriculum, and I am a previous curriculum manager of performing arts in Victoria. So I've had a role where I've worked with colleagues to shape curriculum around the performing arts and to see how words on a page written curricula can actually frame and be interpreted very specifically and also disparately and contextually by teachers and students, particularly in relation to my interest, which is theatre. The other thing I will say about the curriculum and why I have an interest in it is because we are the only state and territory in Australia that mandates live theatre as an experience of curriculum. All other states and territories have, I'm going to study the script, or we might go and see it, or we'll see a digital performance. But no, we have mandated it in our curriculum. So students, if they study drama or anything,
They have to create it.
they have to go and see a theatre performance.
Okay.
So they create drama, they devise, theatre, they work with script, but each of those two streams, students have to go and see a live theatre performance, have that aesthetic experience, as Eisner would say, and then they have to respond to it in some way. So part of my research is developing a pedagogical structure for responding to theatre across a process that's related to the curriculum. I'm sorry, I hope this is making sense.
No, it's making sense. So I think the first thing I'll ask then is, what has the impact been for those that are experiencing that curriculum is basically what they are taught, like whether it's seniors or those in different levels of education. What has been the impact
Of going to
of the curriculum?
So the curriculum, what it's done is it's created in Victoria. The impact of that curriculum and that mandate has created a 30-year embedding and the development of an ecology that involves theatre companies, teaching, curriculum, students, and government. Because the central part of the curriculum I'm talking about is that we have something called playlists. And playlists are lists. You know how you go to school and you've got a list of textbooks and you have to choose them. So we don't have a list of play scripts. We have a list of performances that have been submitted, and theatre companies competitive. So theatre companies say, hey, we're going to do something like The Fall next year. And it gets submitted with a script and with a treatment, and then there's a panel of appointed people.
The jury.
In and of itself is problematic because it's not contested in anything. It's not put through our lens of who are these people and why do they get to make that choice? And I trouble that somewhat in my research. And that means that students, I'm doing drama and I have 5 plays, one of which I have to go and see. Someone's already determined what that playlist will be. In theatre studies, I have 10 plays, one of which I have to go and see once in the first half of the year, once in the second half of the year. So it's become a thing where theatre companies who make work, either new work or established work or estate-based or independent or touring companies, to be playlisted is to be an advantaged company because it means in some way this is where we get this stakeholder engagement where, oh well, and now there are awards for the best play on the playlist. So we have
get more competitive.
We have this really weird ecology. But the impact for learning, I think, has got 2 things. One is the framing of that means that students will attend that performance because they have assessment tasks that are related to that. So if we think about theatre, and in this conference in IDIERI, we are talking about research, but there's a lot of applied theatre. There's also theatre practitioners here. We can say that we want, where am I going here? That we want the curriculum to be able to allow students to become both artists and audiences. But in this audience space, we're telling them this is the frame in which you are going to go and see this, and you're going to write about it. But also, at the end of the year, you're going to do an exam on it. Yeah. So this then plays into this this other idea that I've been working in my research is around memory. And so if I have seen my performance in March, what are the pedagogies of memory and remembering that can allow me to respond to it in November? Wow. So this is something that I've been deeply interested in for a while because I've been in theatre companies. I've had the opportunity to actually submit work on behalf of the theatre company. I've been on the panel.
Okay.
I've been an assessor of writing. I've researched, most of my research in this space is case study methodology involving the key stakeholders I've just been talking about, including the Curriculum Authority. And I am also lecturer in those 2 studies in tertiary education and initial tertiary education. So I have a range of hats, which is possibly advantageous, but also really a positioning that I need to be very aware of too.
It's just to give you a lot of privilege. No?
Yeah.
I hear you. A couple of years ago, I was in a project in Denmark on theatre for young audience. And part of the thing that I love about the Scandinavian is the robust work when it comes to theatre, early childhood learning, young audience and all of that. And the reason I'm prefacing this, I want to ask you a question about how do you evaluate the impact of the curriculum? Whether it's for learning, whether it's with the government, and again, depending on the direction of your research, how do you evaluate that?
So the impact of the curriculum on student learning?
On student learning, for example.
Okay. The impact of the curriculum on student learning, my research has been pretty much on a case study methodology. So what I've done is I've brought together a kind of series of multiple case studies which involve a play, a theatre company, a school, a teacher and a student. A play,
Yeah.
So a multiple case studies looking at the, and so therefore what I've how I measure that impact is to have qualitative data that's been contributed by student voice, teacher voice, theatre company voice, and also curriculum voice. And to see where those, what is the lived experience of students who are engaged in that process? How do teachers teach and work with students in that? What do theatre companies actually, how do they position schools and students in that space? They have very particular ways of thinking about that. So I'm interested in that because that plays into the selection process as well. And also the economics of that ecology. So measuring that was really interesting in terms of students. So their responses to that, and I've actually got this really lovely little. Can I read this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've got this. It's an evening in March,
Okay.
and a group of senior drama students and their teacher have arrived to see a performance of a play called Fat Boy at a company called Red Stitch Theatre Company in St Kilda in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And Red Stitch is a small independent theatre company and it's housed in an old church. So this is if we imagine that scenario, and theatre is about imagination too. Yeah. And the students are gathered picnic style on the nearby lawn, and it's a balmy Melbourne night. It's daylight saving. Some of them are eating cheese whiz and snacks. Cheese whiz are round things, cheesy. And Tim, one of the students, tells the teacher, I've researched the show while you were away during school holidays. I reckon Fat Boy, I reckon his wife's name is she's called Fudgy. So what I reckon is he's going to eat her. We head off to the theatre and the teacher says to the students with a final reminder, you have to look, you have to listen, and you have to take it all in. Everything that you can, especially the actor-audience relationship. Sorry, I've got a thing going. 79 seats in this theatre. It's very small, very intimate. And the occupants fill them very quickly and they await the opening of the lush lit curtain that hangs on the ceiling and the lights dim and we are away. So the reason I present that little vignette to you is to kind of say that there is an impact there for those students. Mm. And there's an impact because they feel their feedback, the data that I get is that they gather as a cohort.
Okay.
The pre-theatre experience becomes very important for them. Yeah. They sit together as a cohort.
That's right.
And then they leave and they discuss as a cohort. And part of the memorying thing is that collective memory that young people then have. However, they also say that assessment is potentially a barrier and a limitation to them. Because in the end, while they have that initial response that's visceral, that's aesthetic, that's do you remember, how about this, click, click. They then have to, something that I might call like a discursive entanglement, where they have to take the language of curriculum and the language of theatre and they have to bring them together and somehow that has to end up on the page.
That's right, and it doesn't sounds like it doesn't come at the same time. It comes months apart.
It comes months apart.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the impact. So in many ways, what the students tell me and their teachers tell me is that in lots of cases the assessment task trumps the aesthetic experience of theatre.
Interesting.
However, it's a lot of pressure. But one more thing, I think the 30 years of having live performance embedded in curriculum, and this is another impact that I think that written curriculum has in its enactment, is that students of that age are coming through an historical, repetitive, reiterated curriculum, and they're very, very critically observant, theatre literate young audiences.
Interesting.
So there's one limitation, but I also think it has a strength for them that they've said. I think I. Yeah.
Powerful. Well, it's a Janus face, right? It's the same, two sides of the same coin. It's really powerful. Mm-hmm. I'll ask you one last question. I know that you did mention memory and senses and all of that. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to share in regards to that? time parameters too. I find that fascinating.
So
and the connection to what you're really talking
the
about.
notion of memory. One of the things, if I go from the premise that theatre is sensory, okay, and so theoretically through reception theory, through aesthetic theory, through theatre in education, through even applied theatre, through those various theoretical frameworks or fields in which we talk about the sensory. I always talk about it with my students as I see, I hear, I feel. And so those connect together, and in the pedagogy that I'm developing out of this, those three things must sit together, they must intersect. And memory is linked to those. So memory theory is about memory, the collective memory partner. So if we theorise collective memory and we think through to, I need that collective memory. The students tell me, the teachers, we need that collective memory in order to get to November. So what we collect post-show, we have to recollect and remember as we get to the end, and that's where it becomes incredibly powerful for them as a cohort of students who are working on, I've had this experience, I've remembered it, and now I need to remember it. And so just to say, one of the pedagogies that I've been working with is the embodied memory. So how do I put my memory into my body and recreate in order to perhaps enhance my memory in order to write?
Wow. Interesting. I have a lot of questions. I know that we're running out of time. But thank you for taking the time to chat with us, Meg. More and more, it's amplified the role of policy in really creating a huge systemic shift and paradigm shifts. But also to then start thinking of the implication of that, and like you beautifully put it, the 30 years, that's a lot, that's remarkable, 3 decades of having the curriculum like that. Uncritiqued, though. So that's where the researchers then come in to say, what does that look like, and the effect of that within the ecosystem. Yeah. We've been chatting with Meg Upton from Dickens University in Australia, and really speaking about curriculum, particularly drama and theatre in the context of Australia, where she's doing remarkable work. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I'll see you in the next episode. This is Taiwo Afolabi from IDIERI 2025, signing out.
You have been listening to Glocal Voices, the official podcast of the Center for Socially Engaged Theatre at the University of Regina. For more details about the center, visit www.cset.ca.